Joining me now on the phone, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, this order coming from the most reversed and the most left-wing appellate court in the country is no surprise, but it is, on its face at least, shocking to see their dismissal of the Constitution, the constitutional powers that are reserved for the president.
You know, Lou, I have been harshly critical of the Ninth Circuit in the past, and I was earlier tonight, but they really have reached a new low. The absence of intellectual honesty in this case strikes one in the face just before you even get to the third or fourth page. The Constitution assigns to the president unambiguously the role of making the nation's foreign policy. Doesn't even give it to the Congress. Congress is limited in foreign policy to ratifying treaties and confirming ambassadors and funding the State Department. For this court to assume that these judges can second-guess the president and say, we are not satisfied that the danger from these people coming from these 7 countries is sufficient to bar their entry into the United States for 90 days, is literally taking the judicial mind and putting it in place of the presidential mind in an area that the Constitution gives exclusively to the president. Yesterday, when the president addressed the group of police chiefs, he did something I've never seen a president do before, not for the first time from him. He read aloud the statute on which his executive order is based. He read exactly the right statute. He read exactly the right words, that every president since Harry Truman has this tool given to him by the Congress. And the tool is the ability, on his own, unappealable, unchecked, doesn't need the advice and consent of anyone or anything, to suspend the immigration rights of any person or group that he and he alone deems as dangerous to national security. There isn't even room for judicial interpretation of that.
And as he read that from the statute, so clear, so plain, as he put it, anyone could comprehend what its meaning was intended, what it was, and what it is today. But what is so rankling here tonight is that this court in San Francisco has just dismissed the lawfully elected president of the United States and upturned the relationship between that president and the constitutional powers that are his alone, and dismissing tens of millions of American voters in so doing. This
may I add a phrase to that, Lou?
Surely.
And put themselves
right
in his place instead, by balancing the nation's foreign policy against the rights of immigrants to come here, which is a privilege and not a right, as if they were the president, in an area that the Constitution and the statute give exclusively to the President of the United States.
Judge, may I ask you to stay with us here? We're also joined by the Arkansas Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge. I'd like to bring her in. Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, David Rivkin, who is with us tonight. And Leslie, let me get your reaction. You've heard the judge and his assessment of this order from the appellate court. What is yours?
Well, unfortunately, not many of us in the legal community were surprised by the Ninth Circuit's decision. Certainly, we're disappointed, but again, I think as Judge Napolitano pointed out, that we have activist judges who are putting themselves in the place of the president. The president has made it clear that this order was a constitutional right of his, as well as a congressional and statute. That's 8 U.S.C. 1182. It's plain language, as you said, Lou. It's plain language that the president alone has the power and the national security, to protect our national security, rather. And that's exactly what he was doing. I'm confident that the Justice Department, under our new Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, will be able to win in court, and that we can protect America. And that's exactly what this president, that's why the American people got behind him. It's because that they were sick and tired of the policies of the past that did not protect the American communities. And
David, your assessment?
I agree with both General Rutledge and Judge Napolitano, but I would say, in addition to utterly lacking in the merits, this decision is absolutely wrong as a matter of standing. What the court basically said is that the public universities in the state of Wisconsin, because they spend some money on processing visa applications and paying for it for certain individuals who actually have no guaranteed right to come into this country, because the issuance of the visa is totally separate from whether or not you'll be allowed to enter. Whether or not you're allowed to enter is a discretionary decision that can be changed at any time. In effect, they speculated that those individuals be allowed to enter. Somehow they have standing to sue. That is a total perversion of a law and standing, Supreme Court case law and standing. That is the basic limitation of judicial power. So my view of this is an example of judicial aggrandizement. Leaving politics aside, this is not about holding the president to the rule of law. This is about holding everybody to the rule by the judges.
Yeah, I think the word aggrandizement is interesting, given that Neil Gorsuch has now entered into a new realm by criticizing the President of the United States, talking about his disheartened state as a result of criticism of judges that are openly political, openly biased, and absolutely resistant to the Constitution, rather than using it as both a guide and a finite border to the conduct of government officials. Judge Napolitano, this is right on point, it seems to me, to the fact that Neil Gorsuch spoke poorly, he spoke perhaps unethically, and certainly without any class or gratitude toward the president who nominated him to the high court.
You know, I want the Senate to confirm Neil Gorsuch. He is a worthy successor to Antonin Scalia. He shares a view of the Constitution that David Rivkin and I have, that the president has, and that many of the people who supported the president do. But judges need to have thick skin. In return for lifetime tenure, you have to have thick skin and realize you don't enter the political fray. You make a decision in your courtroom. You don't get involved in the political wars that the rest of us do. Now, I don't know if he ran these words past the White House first and they said fine. I don't know if Senator Blumenthal put his own spin on it. He apparently did by using the word abhorrent, which was his word, and not
the other words, though, Judge, were corroborated to be both from the confirmation team and Senator Ben Sasse as well, corroborating his language. So there's really no question about the fact that he did use those words. I don't
think the president got as angry as Lou Dobbs did over this.
He did not, and he is a man of greater grace and generosity of spirit, and proves it almost daily. I admire the man's patience with the obstructionism and the frustrations of the will of the people in the person of our president.